So good morning, everyone. Yves Fournier here from DY Experiences, and I've got Dan Burrell, my business partner from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm here from Vancouver, and today we have Joel Zimelstern from Vancouver.
Good morning. Hello, everyone.
Local friend of mine who's a certified business coach. Who owns his own coaching firm in Vancouver, and we thought it'd be a great idea to have Joel on this morning with us to talk about putting together a business plan for the business owners, which I think is a very important thing. So we're going to spend a little bit of time with Joel here this morning, ask him a couple of questions, pick his brain. We've got him here. He's all is consented to our interrogation, and we'll put him to the test and see what I have a lot of respect for Joel. He's a straightforward, honest coach who brings a lot of integrity to the table. We spent some time together a little bit here in Vancouver. So welcome, Joel.
Thank you for having me, both Yves and Dan. Looking forward to this, and for your kind words.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah,
thank you.
No, listen, it's how I feel, and I'm really happy that you took some time out of your busy schedule to join us today. So, a couple of quick questions. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your coaching firm, and I know you've got a big event that's happening on Friday. It's a webinar coaching session that actually I'll be attending. So, floor is yours, my friend.
Well, bless you. Thank you very much. So, for those that can't tell, I'm from the UK. My name's Joel Zimelstern. I've lived in the UK for 52 years and ultimately decided about a year and a bit ago to follow what was really my calling, my path, my sense of joy and purpose in life. And that was always manifested in helping people and businesses actually around the world, but in a different industry. And the challenge that always afforded me is that I can only impact one person or one company at a time.
Okay.
And because of different trainings and experiences I've had in time, I found it was really, I needed to find a better vehicle where I can affect one-to-one through to many people and make a change where I possibly could. And I had a background in coaching, in neurolinguistic programming and other disciplines, and felt it was really synergistic to pull it together into this coaching practice. And that led me, for many reasons, to choose to be trained by and operate under Action Coach.
Okay.
Action Coach, if you don't know, are the world's foremost firm of business coaching, been trading since 1993, have offices in over 80 countries, more than 1,000 certified coaches. But what's really unique is that they have a strategy of teaching people how to be more effective in their business. They don't go in and try to fix a problem, which a lot of consultants do. And to be honest, some specific coaches will do. But we're there to create a business model that's in service of the business owner. And we want to empower by giving the business owner the right information, the right set of tools, and the right ability to discern what is working, to apply that within their business so that they can be self-sufficient within that business, and that business survives them and helps them realize and crystallize all their hopes, dreams for themselves, for their family, but also for their team and all of their connections, because that would extend to the community.
Yeah. Now, you've got your coaching firm in Vancouver, in North Vancouver.
Yep.
And you've been here in Vancouver since when?
It feels like years, but I think that's COVID for you. Since December the 10th, we landed, which was an interesting time to make a decision to change and then to be confronted with these new opportunities that faced us all.
Now, tell us about your upcoming webinar coaching session that's happening this Friday, actually.
Absolutely. So we call it Growth Club. and it's a quarterly whole day session on planning for the next 90 days of your business. But those 90 days are in the context of the bigger term goals and vision that you have for your business. So we start by looking at what your 5-year, 3-year, 1-year goals are.
Okay.
Because it's actually said that as an entrepreneur, we're really good at underestimating what we can achieve in 5 years. But the problem is we overestimate what we can do within the much shorter period, whether it's 6 months or 90 days.
Okay.
So we have this strategy that we get very clear on extending what is possible within those 5 years, and then breaking it down into actionable chunks for the next 13 weeks, which is your 90 days. And we don't want to overload that plan to the extent that that can become overwhelming and demoralizing, and it means that your results are so much further away from being realized.
Okay.
So we make it into these 90 days so
Yeah.
that of those 13 weeks, every week in some key areas, which actually fits in with our business model as well, along with the personal goals, you have some actionable steps based around measurable outcomes that are broken down into those 13 weeks.
Okay. Now, the growth club, so you're going to have your first session with your group on Friday, and there's a continuation to that. Is that a weekly session that you do, or is it every quarter? How's that work?
Okay, the growth club is quarterly. So we already have the date for the one in 3 months' time.
Okay.
However, we have a series of coaching clients that fit within different products or services, if you like, that I provide to them. Some of them have one-to-one mentor coaching. Some
Okay.
of them are not ready for that, so they jump into different forms of group coaching. But
Okay.
everyone who attends gets the ability to have a follow-up with me
Mm-hmm.
so that I can give them the support they need to be certain that they are taking action. Because I actually don't want anybody to participate. As much as I'd welcome their fees, I don't want them to participate unless they really are committed to being in a different place at the end of this.
Yeah.
And there's vanity in attending and having a plan, but vanity will only get you so far. You need to have results. And I want you to be able to walk out of there ready to take action, and I will hold you to account to take action.
No, that's good. I think it's so important, Dan and I as business owners, when you look at, when we first sat together and said, okay, what are we going to do here, and how are we going to do it? And you start thinking, putting together a business plan, and sometimes it's doesn't matter if I've been in the auto industry for 30 plus years. Dan's been in the medical fields for quite a few years, and you sort of put two heads together and you start thinking, wait a minute here, we're business owners, but who is out there that can help us put a plan together? And I think that's where you come in, and it's a great thing because so many businesses are just flying by the seat of their pants, as they say here in Canada.
Well, there are so many businesses that are built on bootstrapping, or now the big thing is I've got to have a side hustle. And what is missing ultimately is a destination. Because most people, when they sit down to write a business plan, they start with a sheet of paper, and their perception is where they stand in that moment. And they think, well, it will be a good idea to do X, Y, and Z because this is what someone has said. But they miss what the reason for doing it is for.
Okay.
So it's why in our planning sessions and even in our coaching sessions, I feel it's critical to become clear as to your own personal motivation. Yep. What drives you? What is success going to look like? If we take the currents as we climb out of the pandemic, depending wherever you are in the world, it is arguable that what happened was foreseeable, but not many people in business made business decisions to hedge against these unforeseen circumstances and
Mm-hmm.
prepare for it. If you stop at day one and plan and consider what everything can go right, which is what typically happens when someone starts a plan, consider what can go wrong, and then
Mm-hmm.
separately ask the question, how much of that am I prepared to carry?
Yeah.
You would build a business that is going to be robust and can withstand many of the shocks that are in the economy and in that your dreams are going to suffer.
Okay. Now, typically, you would do your growth club. Would it be at your office in a boardroom setting, whereas
Uh,
now it's virtual? Is that typically how you would do it?
well, it normally would be a proper workshop where we would have. I've been in some other growth clubs, at least in the UK, where there are over 150 people. So
Wow.
it's more than the boardroom,
Okay.
because a number of the coaches would come together and bring their teams, because it becomes a great collaboration exercise.
Okay.
The danger is we stick to what we know and we stick within our comfort zone. If you're interacting with other businesses, it doesn't matter who is within that business, and with other coaches, that expansion of knowledge is something that will tear down your own paradigm of what you think is possible,
Exactly. Oh,
and you
that's
can
great.
move and grow on
Yeah.
accordingly.
So let me pick your brain here as a, certified business coach. Uh,
Can I sit
what
prouder?
what do you think is more important when you're coaching a business? Is it education or is it motivating the business owner? So is it educating the business owner or motivating them? What's your take on that?
The glib answer to that is yes to all of the above.
Okay.
Look, at Action Coach, our mission is world abundance through business re-education. And by that, we obviously believe that education is really important, but it's re-educating people so that they can become effective and shift their own paradigm of thought as to what's possible and what they believed are the rules of the game. And that's great. But there is that component of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you have a sports background, Eve,
Yeah.
and in sports, you look at those great sports people, and they would say, "I had a great coach. You know, they lifted me up."
Mm-hmm.
But deep down, I personally believe, and I'm open to um, a different point of view to this, is that no one can actually motivate you. You are inspired by um, words that someone may give you, but the choice on how you respond to that ultimately is your own. And that
Exactly.
motivation, all someone is doing is perhaps turning up the gas a bit on the flame that burns inside you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're your own regulator. How many people's words, advice, guidance, support have we rejected because we chose to reject them? It may be because we didn't trust them, didn't have confidence, didn't have faith in them, but deep down, that was a personal choice still.
Mm.
We shot the messenger and not the message.
Yeah.
So motivation is critical to see you through those dark days, and
Mm-hmm.
also to celebrate when you reach the light, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of having a why as the only reason to drive you is not always the case, because the why is actually the consequence of personal fulfillment as well.
Mm-hmm.
You may use that as the reason to make a change in the first place. I want to live longer. I want to be healthier. I want to change the planet. All those are wonderful whys, but deep down, they satisfy a personal, emotional need, as well as a potentially intellectual need, a
Mm-hmm.
sense of fulfillment, a sense of community, but they're all personal.
Mm-hmm.
And so you asked the question, which do I think is most important? And I said glibly, the answer is yes to both of them. And I've got the John Lennon song going through my head, whatever gets you through the night.
Yeah.
If it works for you, great.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, whatever it is, as long as it works.
Yeah.
And you are taking personal responsibility to actualize the life that you say you want.
Mm-hmm.
If when you get there you decide it wasn't the life that you wanted, it doesn't matter to the degree of motivation or the steps you've taken, because you'll be misaligned. You're going to have to go and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
So business is not about forgetting the person, because a person is who applies a business.
Yeah.
But the person has to be aligned with his or her own goals.
Yeah.
And then the business itself has to be recognized as a vehicle to realize those goals.
Mm.
And
Do you, I heard you say a word here that really sticks out for me, and it's business re-education. So if you've got a business owner, do you find, because some people get pretty well set in their ways, whether on how they live their life or how they, and that reflects in their business, that they're on a path and that's it. Mr. Joel comes in and we're going to re-educate. Do you get lots of blowback, and how do you overcome that?
right, okay, so resistance is only natural, because ultimately people are comfortable with their current situation. They may profess to be otherwise, but it tends to be within a narrow band of discomfort and comfort, and they tend to stay there. And those bands are bands of resistance. And there's a formula for change that we use, which
Okay.
says that dissatisfaction times by vision plus first steps has to be greater than the level of resistance to enable change to take place.
Okay.
So if you are getting pushback in itself, taking my NLP background, is just feedback. Either the message is wrong, someone is incongruent with their professed willingness to change. So we dig deep on it with a series of tools, because someone may. A quick example. I remember going to a hospital where my grandfather was in ICU,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in Montreal, and it was February, so snowdrifts are everywhere.
Yeah.
And as you probably know better than myself, how bitterly cold that is.
Oh yeah.
Yet, when I went across the road to get a cup of coffee with my cousin, standing in the shelter were 15 to 20 people in their nightgowns and their IV sticks having a cigarette. Now, I'm not going to judge someone why they choose to smoke or otherwise, but the chances are they were in hospital with related issues,
Yeah.
yet they still had greater satisfaction from the cigarette smoke than choosing to be inside where it was warm. And so we all have our own reasons, and we have to dig deep to find out what that reason is
Mm-hmm.
that will become aligned with the degree of change that we want to make.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a long-winded answer. I'm not
Uh,
certain I've answered your question, though.
yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Now, we talked about the why, and being in business. So let me ask you, why are you in the coaching business?
Oh dear.
If there was, say, two things that really motivated you to do this, to help other businesses, what would it be?
Um, mm, I can only relate that when I sit down with a person, whether in their personal life or their business, I feel a responsibility to give them the opportunity to live the life that is available to them. When I was dealing with insurance claims, and I did that for 32 years,
Okay.
and I dealt with a whole gamut of society, including international companies. And every one of them, when it came down to it, was in a situation they didn't want to be in, but wanted to be somewhere else. And the insurance claim was a vehicle for them to make those changes. And for me, when I'm coaching someone, I don't see it too dissimilar, because I don't coach people because of where they're standing today. I coach them for where they can be and where they express they want to get to.
Okay.
And it's my responsibility as a coach to clear the path and shine the light for them so that they can make the right informed decisions and learn the appropriate skill set so they can deliver upon it consistently, predictably, and get the results.
Yeah. So you give them all the tools, fill up their toolbox, basically help them along the way, clear the path. But ultimately, I think what I'm getting is it's their responsibility to do it. You're not their babysitter.
No, but there is another reason. There is a bigger why to this. So, for me, I think this is slightly off, slight tangent. I think there are only three ways that you can create the wealth you need, or have the wealth you need to live the life that you profess you want. And that life may be one of contribution, it may be one of driving fast cars, it doesn't really matter. It's not for me to place that judgment. Those three ways are: you either earn the money, you create investments, or you have a windfall. That windfall could be the lottery, it could be an inheritance. And we are taught that investments are quite a sophisticated vehicle to generate money. We're taught that if you put your money in the bank, if you're lucky, you're going to get 1%, 2%, depending on the economy. So we don't have these great expectations. There are the get rich schemes where you're going to get 10, 20, 30%, which are associated with more risk. But really, the only people who get rich on get rich schemes are those that set up the scheme.
Yeah.
So you've got a choice. You either live within your means, within the income that you're getting, and invest smartly and wisely with the extra, or you invest fully in the one vehicle that can create the greatest return. And I truly believe that business can give you that exponential return. Now, when you are successful in your business, because that's where I think it will come from, that abundance that you're creating for yourself, one, it's very rewarding and satisfying that you've created something of your own. But that abundance then spreads. It spreads to your family, or frankly, you're now honoring some of the promises you made when you slipped the ring on her finger.
Yeah.
That's one side of it. But you can't do this alone. You have a team. You have a team, whether they're your staff, whether they're your suppliers, and also your customers. They're all part of the team. And as you create wealth and abundance through your own vehicle, that abundance and wealth spreads to that team and that community. And as it spreads, it can make real lasting change. That creates empowerment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Proper empowerment. It's not a handout.
So I know that you've got a busy day ahead of you, but just to close off, let's go back to this Friday, July 3rd, at is it 9
a.m.
9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
That's the one.
The Growth Club. Let's just talk a little bit about that, and then we'll let you carry on with your day. So, in closing, what are we going to be learning?
My goal is for everyone who shows up gets clear on what the route of travel. The pace of travel is going to be unique to yourself, but you're going to get clarity on your direction, and going to have some measurable activities that are going to demonstrate to you that you are moving in that direction. I would like to think that you will be scheduling time to work on your business, not like the cliche say, working in your business, but recognizing now that the business is that vehicle that I just spoke about.
Okay.
I would like those that are trading to get some real clarity on their numbers so that they are making an impact immediately in getting greater returns on their business. I will also talk about, and this I think is really quite important in terms of our economy, as to how valuable and critical marketing is to your
Okay.
business. It is the singular activity that I really think businesses neglect, and it tends to be the one activity people reduce when they're scared. So
Exactly. That's so true. You know,
yeah,
they all of a sudden they don't want to spend any money, and it's really,
no,
it should be the opposite.
no. So to me, that's one of the key things there. So that's what I would like everyone to be leaving on, and leaving with a one-page document with actionable steps that I will hold them to account to, so that in a few weeks they are many feet away from where they stand today.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Joel, for joining us this morning. We truly appreciate it, and I'll make it up to you one day. I'll take you to a restaurant in Yaletown, do an English pub, and do the old style fish and chips.
I think you had me at hello.
There you go. There you go. Well, thanks
Brilliant.
again, Joel,
It's a
and
pleasure.
Thank
I
you, sir. Very nice meeting you.
look forward to
Likewise.
being on board on Friday and giving you a report and insights on how I found it as a business owner, and really look forward to it. So
I appreciate that.
a great weekend and a great week, and happy Canada Day. This will be your first Canada Day tomorrow.
Yeah, looking forward to it. In
Yeah.
fact, the only other one I'm aware of is when it was 150 years old, which I think was 2-3 years ago. I was
Yeah.
in Trafalgar Square in London, and there was a massive celebration in Canada area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so
Cool.
looking forward
So
to it.
have yourself a great week, and we'll talk soon.
Look forward to it.
Thanks again for coming.
I hope that's as you wanted, gents. Thank you for
Yeah,
your time
next
today.
time. This is
Thank
good.
you.